Welcome to the Chronicles of Cigarnia, where we pair and review two wonders of human creation, books and cigars. Today our theme is Pasión, and both of these products that came out last year really tried to harness some of the aura of that extreme emotion. And like Pasión itself, that can be either totally sublime or like absolutely the opposite. I did hear some very different reviews about both of these things, and so I decided that I should try them for myself to see how they measured up. The book is Matrix by Groff, and it was up for the 2021 National Book Award. And no, it is not about a guy running around in black leather. But now that I think about it, it is about a nun. So the hero is running around all dressed in black, so maybe there's more of a link than I thought. Our cigar is Aroma de Cuba's Pasión. Pasión? Pasión. Pasión. Passion. Pasión. Pasión is how I think I would pronounce it, but please don't make fun of me. Okay, let's dive right into the cigar. Aroma de Cuba always grabs me with the beauty and the detail in their bands, and this one is no exception. It is gorgeous. I love that mint green against the gold. And I mean, they say that you taste with your eyes first, right? So I think they're onto something here. I mean, all the color in the flowers, even the little tiny, tiny flowers in her hair. And there's like a little jewel on her necklace there. So beautiful. As far as the wrapper itself, it is this smooth, lovely blonde color. It kind of shimmers from the oils when you hold it up to the light. There are angels singing in the background. Maybe that's just me coming down from the high of looking at the band. Ignore the angels part, ignore that. But it is really lovely. It does shimmer. It's the oils. Promise. It smells a little toasty, a little sweet. There's a tiny bit of floralish hints in there. Yep. Okay. Done. Pre-light draw. Oh, sweet. With a nice mild hay. Exciting. All right, let's do this. So this little beauty is a Robusto size, but I believe there are 6 different sizes in this line. So you have a lot of options. It's also a Nicaraguan Puro. There it is. Whoa. First impressions are dang. Let me try to put that into better words. Hold on. Whoa. Oh yeah, that's quite the intense start. It's like a leather bomb. You know what this reminds me of is, I'm sure you've seen footage of this on like a Funniest Home Videos or something, where you have this super adorable little girl like in pigtails and in a fluffy dress, and she goes running up to a guy and is like, hi, and then like whacks him right in the gut area and just like doubles him over. I feel like that's like what this cigar is, because she's so beautiful, but wow, the first few puffs are intense. So let's see how this develops. Interesting. Oh. Okay, the book. So if you are familiar with Marie de France, the medieval writer, you probably aren't that familiar. None of us are that familiar because we know almost nothing about her. There are just a few details that have come down to us, and so we infer a lot about this person. We do know that she spoke and wrote in English, French, and Latin, which means she is part of the educated upper class. And the upper class was part of the Norman invasion that came over with William the Conqueror to England in, I think it was 1066. So taking that idea a little bit further, we infer that since she is upper class, she must have been around the court of Henry II, and because of that, she must have known the Queen, Eleanor of Aquitaine. It's possible that she was one of the powerful abbesses who are in charge of the convents in the area. We know Henry II did have some relatives that he placed strategically as heads of these convents. It's all speculation, but we do know that she did influence very heavily writers that came after her. And that includes Chaucer, who has some tales that sound suspiciously just like her earlier ones. Okay, you get the point, right? We don't know very much about her, but what Lauren Groff has done is taken what we do know and filled all of the empty spaces, making up her own character of Marie. What she has created is awesome. Well, at least in my opinion. So Lauren Groff's Marie is this wonderfully fierce, tall, ugly, but powerful, competent, passionate poet and mystic, and she does have these visions that enable her to create things to help this convent, like a labyrinth that will protect it, or a system that helps the nuns always get water no matter what time of year it is. Yeah, and she basically takes this crumbling, illness-ridden convent and builds it into one of the most powerful places in her country, England. And a lot of her actions are inspired by her deep, deep passion for her queen, Eleanor of Aquitaine, who is herself super fascinating. And if you have time to research her, I highly recommend it. What an amazing woman she was. So it is kind of a wild imagining of this woman's life, but it is very thoroughly researched and correct as far as the things we do know. For example, the research she did about how women would live in these places, what were the conditions like, what were the different types of diseases that would come around. Super accurate and very well described. Yeah, frankly, even at the highest level, the living conditions are horrific, and it makes you, well, it makes me at least, super glad that we have things like indoor plumbing and Advil. Yeah, it makes you super thankful for modern conveniences. Back to the cigar. So this has quickly morphed away from that leather bomb that it opened up with, and it has settled into a much more mellow, I would say like earthy / coffee flavor. Yeah, and actually I did expect it to stay intense a little longer just from like the way it came out swinging, but yeah, it's quickly changed into something else. I'm getting an occasional puff of like wonderful smoothness and creaminess that I wish I got more of, but I suppose what it does is it balances that earthiness really nicely. There was one of the creamy ones. Easy to draw. You can see there's some nice variegated ash there, and it's holding together really well. Though with the tasting panel, we noticed it holds together, holds together, holds together, and then all of a sudden it's like an ash ambush and it falls apart and you're like, oh no. So yeah, ash ambush. Try saying that 3 times fast without it morphing into something a little rude. Okay, back to the book. So I loved this, but my most trusted reader and one of my favorite people in the whole world, my sister, did not. So that just goes to show you there are quite a few different opinions when it comes to this book. It's not for everyone. Okay, apologies if the sound gets all funky. It turns out that my microphone was not plugged in. Thank you for your patience and your tolerance. Yeah, I wonder how long that's been unplugged. So you can see that there are vastly different opinions when it comes to this book. So it's narrated by this very dreamy third-person narrator that will sometimes do an extreme deep dive into the character's body, and you get all of these feelings and emotions really intensely described, but then it will also sometimes pull way back, and you'll get a huge view of everything else going on. So it's really interesting in that way. I think it was the writer and artist Austin Kleon who said that you have to read this at night because it feels like a dream. And I would agree with that, but my take on it would be to say that it's kind of like walking through a medieval tapestry or one of the more complex medieval paintings. And what I mean by that is like, If you've seen any medieval art, you know that the characters can be extremely flat, but they're also surrounded by all of this lush and amazing plant life and foliage and flowers, and all of the plants mean something, and it's beautiful and it's very full, and then suddenly, like, you look in this corner and there's something bizarre happening, like a squirrel sprouting horns, or down in this corner there's a dog chasing a unicorn, or over here there's a soldier but his spear is turning into like a rose bush. So there is this wonderful surreal quality to a lot of these medieval works, and that's kind of what this book feels like. Okay, back to the cigar. This is developing really nicely. In fact, the flavor is getting even more mild. It is nutty, along with that earthiness. I think Aroma de Cuba's website actually said toasted cashew, which I don't know if I would be that specific about what kind of nut it is, but we do agree there is some nuttiness going on here. Kind of like my book reviews, a little bit nutty. You can see with the burn, it's a bit uneven, but that's no big deal. The tasting panel did report having to relight a bit, but it's burning really nice for me, and so I'm thinking that maybe it's the conditions that we actually sampled this cigar in the first time. It was wintertime and stormy, and now it is early summer, so weather has a huge effect on how the cigar burns, right? So yeah, going well. Okay, so while I'm saying it's mild, what I'm talking about is specifically the flavor. As far as strength, holy moly, people, you might want to eat a sandwich first before you smoke this. I'm only a little ways in and already I am feeling it. This cigar is strong. It is that little girl with the big punch. Not necessarily a breakfast cigar, unless you're made of iron. Oh boy, is it good. Okay, back to the book. So the criticism that I heard of this book comes in a few different areas. And the first is, not everyone wants to read in a dream state, and I totally get that. I had to be in the right frame of mind to pick this up, and it actually did take me quite a bit of time to finish because I wasn't always into reading this type of style. It is also very, very real about human bodies, both the good and the bad. It really is very effective in the way it describes the disease and the discomfort that you can imagine. Oh, there you go. It was the ash ambush. Did you see that happen? Oh no. Okay, well, we'll have to clean that up later. Ash ambush. That went into my sandal. Okay. Shaking the ash out of the sandal. Okay, what was I saying? Bodies. Good and bad about bodies. With all of the ick and horror that you can imagine was happening during a time with no indoor plumbing, the medicine being what it was. Oh, buddy. But there also is some great descriptions of some of the more, wonderful things that the human body can do. There are some very wonderful scenes that describe, how shall I put this? When two nuns find happiness with that other special nun and, want to show the other nun how they feel. You know what I mean? Passion. And the last thing I heard about it that people didn't always appreciate was the end. And it makes it understandable in a way, or it makes the reader understand, I guess we can say, how such a strong character like Marie can just fade away into history, so that we know almost nothing of her. I don't want to give away too much about the end, but just something to keep in mind. Okay, back to the cigar. And if I could remain standing for this final third of the cigar, it will be impressive because, oh mama, it is strong. That leather that I got at the very, very beginning is coming back every once in a while, and it's alternating nicely between creamy bits. It is still quite delicious, still burning really nicely. I did get a few more ash ambushes as you can see on the floor around my feet. Not a big deal if you're not wearing sandals. So yeah, footwear choice might be important with this cigar. And there are also occasional like bursts of like a burnt caramel flavor that come through at the end too. So that is also quite lovely. I have to say that this cigar seems wonderfully slow burning in a way. It is a standard Robusto. It's 5.5 by 50, I think, but it's taken me quite a long time. Like this for me is clocking in at almost 2 hours. Of course, I am a really slow smoker, but I think because of the intensity, I am slowing down and taking my time with it. So nice for that. As far as the fourth third goes, and by that I mean like the room notes, like what does it smell like when you're walking by? It's a wonderful, sweet, caramel-esque aroma. It is a lingerer. It is in my hair and it is not coming out until I take a shower. So if that's something that bothers you, just keep that in mind too. She sticks with you. She doesn't want to leave. If you want to pair a beverage with this, I tried an espresso thinking strength with strength. It was a bad idea. The espresso actually overwhelmed the cigar. So if you're going to do a coffee drink, I would suggest something a little lighter, like a latte or even maybe an Americano coffee. Yeah. So I feel like I should try to like bring this back together somehow. So while this cigar isn't necessarily strong in flavor, it is very strong as far as its character and its intensity, much like Marie, see what I did there, who is strong, passionate. She and her aunts actually were part of the group of women who went on the Crusades. Yes, this really happened, along with Queen Eleanor of Aquitaine. Super interesting history if you're into that. And actually just a fun historical tidbit, Queen Eleanor of Aquitaine went with her husband to lead armies in the Crusades, and that's why their marriage fell apart, is because they disagreed about battle strategies. I mean, how badass is that, right? Okay, anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, super strong individual, could be a little bit overpowering to the people around her, can be overpowering, driven by passion. And because of that, I can't really think of a better pairing. Wrap that up with the grace of an albatross trying to crash land. Okay, people, if you have not seen this footage and you need something to lighten your day, Google albatross crash landing. I laughed hysterically. And it is how I feel about, most of life. So, yeah. So next time, I hope to get back to my cultural heritage a little bit and do some books from Japan, including a manga series. So stay tuned for that and for some cigars that have some Japanese influences as well. So come on back. In the meantime, I hope you are reading some good books, and I hope you are smoking some good cigars, and of course I hope you're doing them both at the same time, because it's one of the great pleasures in life. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye. And I need to go lay down right now for like 10 hours. Books and cigars. So I'm getting yummy creamy smoothness with leather, back and forth. Yummy creamy smoothness. Yes.